a command, so we'll just name it something. Let's name it TS Express. Right? Or maybe should we go with the WhatsApp one? Let's say WAP. Let's say WAP. Cool. So CD WAP, and this will be the backend we'll be using for our WhatsApp, complete service architecture, whatever it is. All right, cool. So first things first, npm init, right, and give a hyphen y for default options. Okay, cool. Let's open it up. Right, we have our package JSON. Okay, I'll close this up. Okay, now we are in this. Now, first thing we have to do is create a TypeScript project, right? So for that, first we'll be installing. Again, this will all be developer dependencies. So install, and you can pass the -d flag for a developer dependency, right? And then you can add TypeScript, right? That's the first thing you're going to add, right? You're going to also add NodeMon and TS Node. So these are used for, well, the same thing that we use NodeMon for, right? So we'll add these as well. Mm, cool. Now the next thing we need to add, so you can see all these are being added as developer dependencies. In case you guys are falling behind, you can look at this and follow along. Now we're going to initiate our TypeScript project. So for that, we need to have something known as a TS config file, right? So there's one way to create it. So TSC, it's a command line tool. We are going to use it with NPX. So in case you guys aren't aware what NPX does, was used before NPM, and it's like an older version of it. The thing that it does is just it caches things before running them. Okay, so what will happen here is that it will cache the TSC command line tool in our system, and then it will run it. So npm TSC, and we're just going to npm. Okay, so you can see this command. This is sort of important. Are you guys following me till here?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So npx tsc in it. Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now so we have something. It got we created this tsc config.json file. So this is the ts config file that I was talking about. So it has a lot of things in this, right? You'll see things like target and things like that. So first thing you need to know about TypeScript. TypeScript is not the thing that will run on your actual process. It is just a way. It's built on top of JavaScript. It's a way to give it a secure type system. And what will happen is here is that TypeScript files get compiled to ES16, whatever target it is, right? JS files, and those JS files are actually being run on the system, right? So there's a lot of things here, right? There's one flag on strict true, which is for your strict mode. I think I already talked about this sometime before, right? We are not going to take a look at everything. There's just few things we will need to change, and we'll go over them once we create our other directories. Okay, so let's clear this, right? And let's head over to our package JSON again. Uh, in case of TypeScript, there are certain packages known as at types packages or types packages, right? So they are appended with at the rate types followed by whatever the package name is, right? So we'll be installing those packages in our developer dependencies, right? And they will help us manage the types. The concept of types will come up a bit later. We'll just for now you can just follow along with this. At types slash node. Okay. So this will add the default types you see in your Node.js, that are Boolean, string, those things, right? Okay, cool. So here you can see all these things that we have added. We'll add a directory. This will be a top level directory. We'll call it src. Okay. And we'll add a file inside this. We'll call this index.ts. Okay. Uh, Remember to change your main from index.js to src slash index.ts. index.ts. So the main is the first file that runs on your module basically, right? We want to make sure that our index.ts is the first file we are running. So let's just change a main, right? Just like the last time, we are going to add a dev script here, right? And that will be your node, mon, and let's just add src index.ts here as well, right? Okay, cool. I'm just going to add a console.log here to see if it's running fine, right? Index.ts. And one more thing that we said we'll be configuring in our ts config, right? So what all things we did? We created a top level directory src, right? And we added an index.ts file inside. We changed the main to basically point to the specific ts file. We added dev script which said nodemon src slash ts index.ts, which will be the first time will be first file will be running. The next thing we need to do is define this src directory. So src directory will contain all the TypeScript file. There will be no TypeScript file outside of our src directory. So for that, the root directory here it says it's a dot slash. So dot slash refers to the complete WAP folder, but we want to refer it. We want it to point towards the src file, src directory. We'll do a dot slash src, and we'll save this. And there's a few more things under remit we'll need to add, but okay, let's just add these directly here. So when we want to compile the whole thing, we'll compile it to a build folder. So we'll say now directory of dot slash build. I just said that TypeScript does not run directly on system. It's always JavaScript files. TypeScript allows us to, give it a secure type system when we are developing the whole thing to avoid any kind of, issues with it, right? Let's just see if everything works. npm run dev starting, and we can see an index.ts from our index.ts. So we have set up our project properly. Are you guys with me till now?
Wait, can you show those the TS config? What's it?
Okay, cool. So in your ts config, go to your root directory, right, and change this from dot slash to dot slash src. Make sure to uncomment first. Okay, done.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And the next thing you want to do is go over to your out directory, right, and don't forget to uncomment this as well, and just add a dot slash build here.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, these are the only two things we'll be looking at this moment. Nothing else to take care of, and we are done with the whole TypeScript thing. Try running your server with npm run dev.
Yes, sir. It's console.
Okay. Anybody facing any issues, please do tell. Okay. All right. So we have our index.ts set up here. Bit of like there's a few things you need to know about types. Okay, TypeScript. So there are two key things that comes in your TypeScript. Uh, First is obviously the type system, and other is basically your access modifiers, which you normally see in C, C++ in your classes, right? You see private, static and read only, those things, right? So those will get added by itself in TypeScript. So we will be able to do much more robust hoops things in TypeScript, and also we'll be able to define types. So let's say, so we say, let's just remove this console now, right? We'll add a top level. Let's say we are creating the port, right? We'll say it's a port, and we are going to define the type of it. So how you define a normal JavaScript variable is just like something like this. Okay, that's a constant, right? How do you define a specific variable in TypeScript? Is you give it a type using colon followed by the basically variable name colon and then the type of it. Okay, so this will be of type number, right? Or numeric. It's not showing up. All right, let's just if you hover over to this your type on your variable, right? So my intelligence is messing up. Okay, so I'll just show you what I mean. Okay, let's say there is a function here. We have something like start function, right? Or maybe let's add something like a main function here. right? And we're going to define a const of, let's say we're going to define something as like a user entity, right? The user. So we have to take two fields in user. Okay, name. This has to be a name, right? And let's say we also need an email, right? These are the two entities we need to take in, user entity, user object, right? So how do you mandate these two things? In JavaScript, there's no way to mandate these things, right? So what will happen is that we'll create something known as a type, right? There are ways to define, we have to give names to types basically. And what will happen is that there are ways to give it a, some sort of a standard. I generally tend to just use the whatever the entity name is with the caps and then followed by the keyword type. You guys can use whatever, but it's preferable to use something which is intuitive, right? Name, we're going to say it's of type string, right? And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set email and we're going to say it's of type string as well, right? And to give user the specific type that it needs these two things, we'll say user type. Okay, so let's see. And let's actually just remove the code thing, right? And it will do a console log of user right here, and we'll run the main in the very end. Okay, okay. Starting and name and email. Let's say if I skip this, it crashes. Okay, so it basically just says, obviously it's not that intuitive right here, but it basically says that email is declared here in the type, but it's not given in this. Okay, all right, so that's the thing about the type. It has sort of mandates specific type. It's very very useful when you're working with the JavaScript objects because there are times when you want to make sure certain things are in place. So for example, when you're working with something like a response, right? We did something like rest dot JSON, right? We used something like this yesterday, and we had three things in this, right? Message, data, and a success, right? So in this case, right, you have to make sure that your JSON has these three and these three fields. So this will become sort of like a type of sorts. So we'll have something like a type of uh, response, something like this, and we'll say we need a message which is of type string, right? And we need something like data which is of type object, or maybe we can just do an this will also work. And we also need to have success which is of type boolean, right? One more thing, whenever you're writing types, make sure that you separate them with a semicolon. Okay, boolean. Okay,
It's something like those structures that we saw in C.
yes, you see structures in C, but again, C does not require this kind of syntax. It's
Yeah.
mostly int variable name followed by whatever it is, right? So that's sort of things, these sort of things you're going to see in TypeScript a lot. I'm just giving you some examples. We'll go over to Express and we'll take a look at these a bit in a more of a normal way, just how we use in a practical thing. All right, so that is how your TypeScript basically work. There's one more keyword you'll see known as interface. Uh, so interface is just like a type. There is one. It's sort of like a sort of for people who love to use oops terms, right? In case you guys have studied oops somewhat, you guys know an interface is something which gives a blueprint of a class. It basically lists out all the properties and functions and give out the return types and their types. So if you just study, you can just Google this up. Interface is the oops concept, and they work similar to how your normal types work. And you'll see things like name or string, something like this, quite commonly, right? We're going to stick to types because we're going to stick to the type variable, because the type keyword, because we want to make it a bit more, straightforward instead of going through the oops thing. Again, JavaScript does not necessarily push towards the oops concepts, so we're going to stick to the type keyword. One thing you need to know is that your type needs to be given like assignment here, but your interface does not. Okay. Okay, cool. One more thing, I'll just simply list out all the type things. Okay. So let's say you want to make the email field, you know, optional, right? Let's say you want the name field mandatorily, but you don't need the email field mandatorily. In that case, we'll do something like a question mark colon, right? So this basically says this can be mandated as this can be made optional, basically, right? If we remove this from the user field, try to run it, okay, it still crashes. Oh, it is still crashing. Okay, so my bad. Yeah. So now it's just displaying name, and that's fine because we made it an optional field, right? We can also give it something like that, and this will work fine as well. Okay. Uh, there are also certain inbuilt types which are available in your types directly, right? And you'll TypeScript directly, and you will be using these sometimes, right? We'll go over them once we face them, but for now, I guess this is okay. Okay. All right. So I guess following along with, is there anything that is unclear?
No way, not yes.
Cool, right? Okay. So yesterday we did a lot of things, but today we'll sort of cruise along. So make sure that you have everything is we'll just be going headfirst into Express. There will be no uh, you know handlebars for you. So today we'll just do import, and also in TypeScript we generally use normal imports compared to your old-fashioned required things that we did in JS. And the reason for that is because TypeScript is it's TypeScript and it compiles to whatever version of code you want to write it. So in theory, it will do it. It will convert it to requires might convert it to require, right? Based on whatever target you're giving. But we will write normal inputs in this. So import express from, well, we haven't added those. So let's just quickly install npm install. I is short for install express, right? And we added express. So let's see express, right? There might be cases we'll see errors, and that is because we would need the add types of express as well, right? So yeah, so types modules libraries are required because we need those whenever we are using the things from the express library, which might be defined of a specific type, which it might not find without this specific library. Okay, so for that case, we'll just do npm I-d install -d at types/express. Cool. If you are using VS Code, you'll see things like, you know, uh, a lot of things basically, and it will actually give you a lot of symbols to show that it's a type or it might be an interface. You'll get those things with IntelliSense. So if you guys use IntelliSense, logically and productively, in that case, this TypeScript is also going to help you a lot. So okay, the first thing we did in Express was first to create an application. So that would be const Express, right? Next thing to do is add the JSON and the URL encoders, those things. So we'll do express dot JSON. Start picking these things up. Let's see what will happen. Okay, and then we'll do an app.json for now. Actually, my bad. App.use express dot URL. Why is it not picking up?
Maybe control space that is conflict.
Yeah, it should work, I guess, but it's not picking up. Let me just quickly save and like restart this. Yeah, open up. HURL. All right, it's not picking up. Cool. Let's just see if this even works right now. Might be with the. It might be with. the types package, something like the types package. Let's say it's listening. Let's do an npm run. It's working fine. I'm guessing it has something to do with the types package. Should I try it with this? Yeah, it causes some errors. So obviously export default is something different. Okay, let's see. Use express dot model encoded and extended to. Okay, so this should be fine. Mm, right. So type definitions for express, not something I'm taking a look at this moment. Okay, fine. Leave it. All right, let's just jump back into it. So these all things are common, right? Again, just like before, we'll create a routes folder, right? This time we're going to do one more thing. We're going to create an index.ts inside this, and this is just some fancy things I like to do. In case you guys have gone over to your different APIs, right? You guys must have seen something like whatever the domain is, right? Dot whatever the extension is, right? Followed by API, followed by module name, and then followed by routes. Okay, so generally speaking, it's we see some sort of something like this in our a normal web API world, or something like API dot domain or something like this. Okay, so these kind of things are very very common because I want to make sure that we are going to have this global API thing added to this. I'm just going to do a single route import in our express index.js file, and that will be from our index.ts, basically route slash index.ts. Okay. All right. So index.ts. So again, same thing. We're going to do an import of router from our express, right? For that, router and const router equals router. Is it a new router? I'm pretty sure it's a new router, right? Let me just open up the yesterday's code base we had. Mm. Also, I added these in your GitHub repos, so you guys can take a look at this. Routes. Okay, it's not a new router. Cool. So I'll just do a single route here, and we'll do an export of this. So router dot we'll do a get, right, and we'll do a slash ping route. Okay, and the only thing it's supposed to do is rec res and send back a JSON response of saying the server in a POM, and we're going to do an export. Uh, should we do default? Maybe. Okay, let's just do default, right? And we're going to import this. So we're going to say import root routes. Root router would also work because sorry from our dot slash routes. I got no idea why it's not picking up. And that's it, I guess, because index is obviously the first file, so it will automatically import this, and we will do an app.use just like before, right? Slash API because we want a top level, slash API slash something, right? So root router. Okay, through some error. Okay, right. So uh, I said that we need to have routes, types with our everything, pretty much every variable. Request and response both are variables, so we need to have types for these. So request and response. I think these are the names. It's not. Let me just restart my VS Code. I think it's causing some issues. Not sufficient. Not helping me. It's not useful. Should we try installing the Express? Okay, so let me just try something. Definitely not helping me. Oh my God. Let me change this to a type dependency. The VS Code intelligence is failing me at this moment. Hmm, let me just see if I can get this. npm run dev. Because let's just do any for now because well it's failing me. Snail कोई idea है? Why is this happening?
क्या हो रहा है एग्जैक्टली मैं थोड़ा फॉलो नहीं कर रहा हूँ अभी
यार ये like intelligence काम नहीं कर रहा है properly.
हॉवर करने पे नहीं आ रहा कुछ
Nope.
ओके आपने टाइप्स इंस्टॉल करा है एक्सप्रेस का
Yep.
दैट्स वियर्ड
Hey, this is right. मैं ये चीज सही है ना?
हाँ हाँ ये तो सही है और एक सेकंड वेट लेट मी चेक वो टीएस कॉन्फ़िग सही है कि नहीं
नहीं ये तो I know for sure this is fine. Hmm. There's one task.
मॉड्यूल रेजोल्यूशन ऑन है?
मॉड्यूल रेजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ है मेरा नोट का।
आप उसको ऑन कर दो।
ओके, डन।
एक बार देखना।
ओके, लेट्स सी।
नहीं आ रहा ना?
I don't know. No, no, no.
No.
Structure
Maybe we can do this window reload for VS Code this time.
window reload.
Yeah, this in the command palette, there's an option called window reload. Yeah, the
तुम
second
लोग को
one.
आ रहा है? Are you guys able to see this by the way? तुम लोग को दिख रहा है ये? Like
Uh,
IntelliSense पर?
where it was the second option.
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, I'm getting those options.
You're getting the IntelliSense.
Yeah, I'm getting those.
Okay, so this might do something with mine. So I guess ये सब मेरे को ही हो रहा है. Let's remove these things. Stones, some things. Bits. And it's always done. You guys can see the IntelliSense part, right? This मेरा ही है ना? This is morning my issue, right? Snail, you got something going on?
नॉट रियली, सब कुछ सही लग रहा है लेकिन कुछ और रीजन से नहीं चल रहा है.
Actually, one more thing. It's my Copilot.
आप कोई और प्रोजेक्ट एक बार खोल कर देखना टीएस का.
मेरे पास कोई और पड़ा होगा लोकली. Let's see.
नोरेंको.
Okay, yeah. But that is, I guess,
नेस्ट.
next and next. Let's see.
वीएस कोड फट गया.
Yep.
रीइंस्टॉल करो अब.
Man. Oh God. No, this is bad. Yep. VS Code is doing something. एक सेकंड मैं इसको क्या force quit कर सकता हूँ? Let me just force quit this thing. Force quit. Right. And let's just restart. कुछ मिला यार, कुछ तो बताओ. Okay, I think आ गया. I think आ गया. Yep. Sorry for whatever the hell that was. Okay. So hopefully, yeah, let's see. CD your repos. Yeah, I take it back. Yeah, what the heck? Wait, we did not do that. How do you think? Res. Yeah, quick fix. Nope. West and whatever it is. Okay, now we're getting things. Cool. Yeah. So let's get back to this. Joe, who I just forget everything. Okay. uh, so whenever you're going to do the IntelliSys thing, right? You see things like terms written here interface, right? So it says it's an interface. Now you can see type. So these gets imported, right? And you have to use this, right? So response, right? Let's see if this works out fine. Which will exit this and let's start here. npm run. Right. Okay. Okay, it started on 4000. We have this thing ready. Let's not fuck this up. Localhost 8000 slash API slash ping. Okay, you got the form. Well done. Okay, so everything is done. Fine, cool. A lot of things are there. Right. Ugly cheese. Let's get back to our. So let's sort of define out the things that we're going to do. Let's add something like top level readme. Me dot me. Right. अभी के लिए ऐसे ही बना रहा हूँ. You guys just to list out what all things we need to do in our this thing. So मैंने कहा था we'll be studying the WhatsApp architecture thing, right? So first things first. Again, it's going to be a web application, not a mobile application. So a lot of things wouldn't work the way you expect it to. Okay. Uh, so first things first, we're going to do the just the user information thing. So user profile, this will have everything from your uh, profile pic, DP, or name, phone. What else is there? There's one description line. What do you call this here? Earlier it used to be status. I don't know what they call it now. Mm-mm-mm. We call this about. Okay, cool. So this will be an about. So these are the things in the user profile we need to have, right? Let's just call it photo, right? And second thing would be the chats part. So this will most likely be an array, right? Where you'll have a chat ID, name of the chat, description of the chat, right? And this will again depend if it's a group chat or not. Okay. Uh, let's just add, this group or some flag like that because we want to manage the overload differently, right? So is a group and description name ID is group. I guess that's pretty much it, right? And this will be an array, right? And what else is there? What else is there? I guess that's pretty much it for the top level things. Inside the chats, let's say group, right? So inside the groups, we'll have things like participants, right? This will be definitely a different entity, right? Let's just call it a participant. Right? Participant, and this will be an array basically of five participants. We'll have. Should we have messages? Yeah, we should have messages. Okay, messages. Again, a different entity, right? Message will be a different entity, definitely. Just think of everything as how you would think of think of these things in normal oops, right? So yeah, and add the mins. Let's add mins, yeah, and this will be again a user entity. Cool. So maybe this will also be a user, right? Okay, cool. So these three things would probably be our, it will sort of define our database structure, right? And there's one more thing we have to discuss is SQL relationships, right? So this is something I have, messed up before as well, but I just want to make sure that we get this right today. Not all right. So SQL relationships, there are basically four types of relationships we know, right? One to one, right? So that means a single user will have only one of these entities. So what will be an example of this is maybe something like user having, let's say, we cannot actually give a good example for this one, right? Yeah, but basically, let's say one-to-one relationship would be something having only one thing. So let's say the user has a profile entity, so that will be a one-to-one relationship between the user and the profile. So every user will have one single profile, and every profile will be assigned to a single user. So this is a one-to-one bidirectional. Bidirectional is just a fancy term. You just need to know about these things. Okay, right? And one-to-many, obvious one would be chats because because every user will have multiple chats, right? And many to one, if you want to take a look at this, we can just say again, just the opposite of your groups. So basically, uh, your a single user will have, you know, multiple groups, and a single group will have multiple users. So a single group will have multiple users. So that is a many to one relationship, right? And there's also a many to many relationship. In our case, we wouldn't really work on the many to many part, but if you want to take a look, take a sort of a look at this, you can think of it in a way that many users will be in many groups, as well as there will be many group. A single group will have many users as well. So you can sort of think of this as a very good relationship, right? Okay, so I think these relationships are clear. Is this clear to you all guys? To you all? You guys can hear me?
Yes, well.
So these relationships will be useful, and we define these relationships in our SQL databases. But it's very important that you guys use this in an actual application, because when the things are related to each other, right? We have something known as cascading of data. Okay, so let's say we relate a user, right? Let's say a user wants to delete his account, and he deletes his account, right? Deletes the user entity, his own user entity, right? What will happen in the case of a relationship is that these things will not be left hanging. Okay, so when that happens, if a user deletes his own entity from profile, user deletes his own entity, that will trigger in that case delete his profile, his chats, all the groups he has. So basically, it does a sort of a cascading effect into the whole thing, and it allows us to leave out any kind of hanging data, and also allows us to nesting of data. Okay, so there is obviously here, and let's just take a look at one more entity because message is again left out. Right, so we'll say message, and that will be actual message. So we'll just write as a text, and again string, right, and timestamp when we receive the message, right? Maybe we can maybe make it a bit more complicated, saying that sent at this time, received at this time, right at this time, how your WhatsApp does it, right? And message will also have a sender and a receiver. Understand this about this, that sender and receiver both will be references to users, right? Okay. So whenever I'm writing something like this, automatically it's a type. Don't think too much about it. It's automatically a type, right? So yeah, so users, chats, group messages. I think that's a pretty clear view of what we are taking a look at. Cool. We are already 8:04. Mm, let's do this. Okay, I'll push some code. Okay, I'll push some code with just the routes and modules set up in this, and from tomorrow onward, we can actually continue on from the actual relationships part and create the database relationships. Make sure your Postgres is obviously there, right? We'll do the type ORM and Postgres thing with relationships, everything tomorrow, right? And we'll be done with the whole API part of this by tomorrow. Cool. And the day after that, we'll be completing the messaging architecture using WebSockets and everything. So all the bells and whistles you might be seeing in a full stack chatting, web chatting applications, basically, will be there. Okay. So I know there were some issues today, but I guess hopefully from tomorrow we'll be, a bit more prepared.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it seems pretty interesting. Thanks for lots of info.
कोई question हो तो obviously you guys can ask. We will take a मतलब थोड़ा इसको this relationships thing ना we'll actually take a bit more deeper dive in this tomorrow, right? And read the Notion, by the way. जो Notion का link है ना, that will have a bit more things regarding the whole relationships part as well. It has all of these things, by the way. Just take a look at those as well.
Yes, well, I think it would be better if we like pin that notion link to the description.
Okay, yeah, we started off the 8 people, and now we're left with 6. Fine, chalta hai, doesn't really matter. Till you guys are learning, that's fine.